All right, so you know 40 Fingers?
No.
Yes. Yes, you do. You might not remember that you know, but you do know 40 Fingers. So do you remember a couple months ago I sent you I'm having internal conflicts in my head right now as to how I craft this intro. But do you remember a couple months ago I sent you a video of these 4 guitarists who did like an incredible version of Bohemian Rhapsody?
Oh, okay. Yeah. The group is called 40
Fingers,
okay.
right. Which if you think about it, it kind of makes sense. 4 guitarists, so 10 fingers each. 4 times 10, 40 fingers, right? Okay. So if you guys haven't heard, go check out 40 Fingers. They do an amazing version of Bohemian Rhapsody. Bohemian Rhapsody, I think, is one of those songs that is one of those songs that in my mind, it's like everybody loves, but actually is very awesomely good. Like it's such a good song. But anyways, so a couple weeks ago, 40 Fingers came back with another awesome version of another beloved song, and which rivals, in my opinion, one of the best versions of this song. So 40 Fingers has now done a cover of Africa.
Nice.
Yes. So do you know the Peter Bence version of Africa, like that piano player?
I don't think so.
Okay, so everyone out there should check out Peter Bence's version of Africa. It's this awesome piano version. But 40 Fingers has released their version, and it's well, actually, I shouldn't say it's comparable because if I'm to be 100% honest, I've only listened to about 10 seconds of it so far. I haven't actually listened to the whole thing yet. But
this is like me looking at
anything.
Like, just like the headline of a thing is that you just
exactly. anything that you bring up on the ETC podcast, that's what it's like. Anyways, I think we should put a poll on Twitter for the best version of Africa between Peter Bence's version and 40 Fingers version, and we'll see what happens. Nice. All right, welcome everybody to episode 45.
Yeah,
is that it? 45?
I think
of the
45.
ETC podcast for this wonderful September 30th, 2020. My name is Casey Lee, and sitting across the city, as always, is
Aaron Sedenkar.
Yes, that is right. And we start off today with a bit of surprising news that did you know that today is a celebration of me and you, Aaron? Today is a national celebration of us.
That's probably not true, but I'm very intrigued.
Do you know what today is? Actually, I'm also curious. Yeah, go ahead.
It must be something to do with when we started the podcast or something.
Maybe kind of not. And I'm curious actually if this is national or international. But according to our friend Brody, who's regular contributor on our Twitter feed and stuff like that, he gave us a shout out today, and I didn't realize this. So I'm very happy that we're recording today.
Nice.
But it is national. I was going to make some joke about it being National Chinese Malaysian Day or something like that. No. Today is National Podcast Day.
Oh, okay. So this is like actual thing. Okay.
Yeah. So I kind of heard about this. Again, my wife Brendan, she listens to she followed somebody and she found some other people because I think of this day where you're kind of supposed to give a shout out to other podcasts so that other people listen to other podcasts.
Okay. Yeah.
So on our official Twitter feed, I put a couple shout outs, but why don't we start are there some podcasts that you'd like to highlight on National Podcast Day? I mean, let's be transparent here. Are you an actual podcast listener? Or are you more a podcast creator? Are you a podcast consumer or podcast creator or both?
I mean, I think I'm barely a podcast creator. Let's not throw that term around. No, I listen to a few podcasts. Yeah. I mean, I think less so than before this year, just because, it was something to throw on in the car or if I'm going out somewhere.
That's the thing, right?
But,
you kind of need that avenue or whatever to listen to it, right?
Yeah. So now it's mostly sometimes when I do dishes, but it's funny because sometimes I almost do dishes slower so I can get through.
Yeah.
episode, because most are like at least 20, 30 minutes, if not longer, right? So
yes.
But yeah, I do listen to a few. I guess should we just like name?
Yeah, why don't we get some podcast recommendations today?
Yeah, cool. So one that is pretty, I don't say intellectual, but I've learned a lot from. There's a podcast called Farnham Street. I don't know if you've heard of this.
Oh, yeah. This is the Ottawa-based thing, right?
So I think technically it is based in Ottawa, yeah. Like I think the guy who hosts it and his team, I think technically, is based in Ottawa.
Yeah, it's crazy. So I the only reason I know about this actually is my brother-in-law got me a year subscription to it for Christmas one year.
So they have it's one of those things where like there's free episodes to listen to, I think, whenever they release them, but then there's additional content and things.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Farnham Street. So and then I found out that a company who works out of the same office as we do, like they kind of, I don't know, they didn't do their website. He just happened to be like high school friends with the guy or something like that. So
okay. Yeah.
So for those who don't know, FDK, what is Farnham Street? Like what's the deal with it?
Yeah, I mean, so it's the format is always, I think pretty much every episode they have a guest, right? So it's the host and a guest, and the whole kind of premise, I think, is essentially around getting really smart guests and breaking down kind of a lot of the way they see the world and the way they think.
That's what I heard. A lot of kind of like
but
brain, like exactly, like the thought processes and stuff like that.
But it's amazing because it's not, there's a lot of podcasts that will have guests on, and a lot of times it's about just their story or just a conversation. I think this one's great because they actually try to dive into, if you have like, I think he's had like Nobel Prize like winners and things like that, right? Like really smart people, and it's not just a conversation. He really tries to bring up like how they think through things, right? Like what's their kind of like framework to look at the world and solve problems and things like that. So it's a great one. Do we want to like go like more than one? Should we take turns? How are we doing?
I mean, I'm just gonna throw out a quick couple ones here. I'm not gonna talk about too in depth. I mean, we got a lot of news as well. But the first one I want to bring up, I figure like there are obviously the big ones that I listen to, but everyone listens to them, like the Conan podcast, Andy Richter's podcast, which my wife introduced me to. These are kind of like typical ones that just everyone knows about. So I'm gonna introduce potentially smaller ones. I don't want to say that these are like, I don't know what their audience numbers are, but maybe some that I haven't heard of. The
more
first
than ours,
one,
but
exactly.
probably more than ours.
Yeah, more than ours, which is basically 100% of the podcast minus one, which is ours. Someone I work again out of the same office, Andrew. He started a podcast about a year ago called Drinking with Freelancers, and his first interview was with me.
Sounds fun.
And the only episode he has out right now is the one he did with me.
Like, wait a minute. Yeah, what did you drink?
Good point. So FDK, I don't really drink alcohol, so I drank a glass of water for the podcast. Yeah. And so if you don't have enough of Casey Lee in the ETC podcast, you can check out Andrew Monroe's Drinking with Freelancers. There's another podcaster named Deepfake. I can't remember his last name actually. Really can't. I'm sorry. I'm drawing a blank on his last name. But he has a podcast called Not That Deep. And he interviews a lot of like entrepreneurs and business owners and things like that, which is great.
Nice.
And then the last one I'll mention is actually a podcast that was started from actually one of our clients, Fan Saves, called Living the Startup. So again, it's kind of like, startup culture, entrepreneurship. I'll be honest, I haven't actually listened to an episode myself yet. But these guys are great people who run the podcast. I've gotten to know them, and they're super awesome. So Living the Startup, check that out as well. Do you have another one that you want to plug while we're at it?
I mean, I was going to say, one thing, I was going to mention another one. I'll mention the name, and I'll kind of it kind of brought up something interesting I would like to get your thoughts on. But there's a podcast, actually, let me because I'm probably gonna like classic ETC get the name wrong. So let me just pull this up quickly.
Just read the show notes, guys. You can't rely on what we're saying during the podcast on anything. So
there's this again. I'll call it a podcast because it technically shows up in a podcast app. But there's something called Cautionary Tales, and the whole thing like
familiar.
It's really they're like 30-minute or so podcasts, but this is a different format. This is very different than the other one I mentioned, where this is just like one person, but it's very much in kind of the like, it's true stories, but like narrated and like dramatized a bit, So how there's this kind of category of podcasts. Serial was like a really big one. That is, a little bit more on the almost, documentary kind of like really put together kind of show episode kind of style.
Yeah.
So that's another one.
It's not ad hoc interview. It's actually like almost like you said, documentary. It's almost like they went out, they did a bunch of interviews, they recorded it, but then they stitched together like a story.
It's super awesome to listen to because they'll even have like audio effects and music and like actors and things like that. It's a great listen. But I don't know, like, what do you think? Like, do you listen to that kind of episode style podcasts? What are your thoughts on that?
So first of all, I'm kind of like you. I'm not a huge podcast listener. And I think it's exactly what you said. It's because of the venue. Like I really got into podcasts basically, when I had I listened to a lot of podcasts when I was working out, at the gym.
Right.
And when COVID hit, my gym's kind of closed and I just don't listen to them that much anymore. And before that, it was kind of like listening on the bus and stuff like that. So I'm not a huge podcast listener. So I'm not really a podcast aficionado. But had you ever listened to Malcolm Gladwell's podcast, Revisionist History?
I think I have caught.
Okay, because that leaned towards, again, more edited, kind of put together, crafted story. I wouldn't say as extreme as Serial. Like Serial seemed very like super well produced, and like again, it almost played out like when you watch like the Tiger King or things like that, right? Really well produced, crafted stuff.
TV miniseries, just audio.
Yeah, exactly. So I can't really comment that much on them because I haven't really listened to them. The ones that I have listened to are like Serial and Revisionist History are awesome and I love them. I haven't gone as far to listen to like the fully dramatized like shows. Like sometimes they have like not even true story stuff. They had basically pure dramas in podcast form.
Yeah.
I haven't really listened to those. But here's the only thing I'll say about all this. The thing I don't like is when not so well produced shows that are more like, again, more casual like this, introduce aspects of the more well-produced stuff by introducing sound effects and stuff like that. Like, there's a podcast by the guy who runs LinkedIn, and like, his podcast is good enough if we just heard the interviews. Like, you don't need to add in sound effects and dramatization and all this stuff like that. So I feel like the people who try to like bleed in between, I feel like, just stick to what you know. So
we say that now and then, next episode we're gonna have all the sound effects.
Yeah, I know. Well, we were already playing with your voice when you said spatial audio, right? So yeah, totally.
It started. Yeah.
We're definitely gonna have some criticism. Okay, so National Podcast Day. Give a shout out to all your favorite podcasts. Brody, thanks for letting us know what that was all about. And again, thanks for giving a shout out to us among a lot of other podcasts. Enjoy it. Podcast is an amazing medium that's given rise to an art form that really hasn't died off, which is radio, right? I always say the advantage that radio has over everything is that, like we're still not at the point where you can, like, it's the only form of media where you can kind of be doing something else, right? Like washing dishes, driving your car, whatever, right? Like, again, in the future, cars will drive themselves and all this stuff, but whatever.
Yeah.
Okay, let's do the news. I got a couple quick Netflix updates. A lot of my YouTube feed is Netflix, so I just see Netflix updates. So there is a new Resident Evil computer-generated anime series coming out. Resident Evil Infinite
series.
Something. Yeah. Or miniseries or something, or movie. I don't know. Classic. Okay. I have no idea. Some kind of Resident Evil CG anime thing. And then there's another really big movie that they're releasing called Trial of Chicago 7. So this is a kind of epic historical thing. And again, it's so bad when we tread into the waters of like something semi-serious because I clearly don't know what I'm talking about. Like when we were talking about the whole Mulan thing, and I was like, I don't really know what I'm talking about. So this is a true story about I guess some protesters that were protesting the Vietnam War. I don't want to speak too much more about it because I'm gonna get facts wrong. I am more entertainment etc. So I'm more concerned about the fact that this looks like a really good movie with great stars. Joseph Gordon-Levitt's in it. Eddie Redmayne's in it. Some other big stars. It looks like a pretty big, like epic kind of political thing. And that's coming out sometime in the future.
Don't even have a date. That's awesome.
So check it out. Trial of Chicago 7, Resident Evil, Infinite something. I don't know what the second word is. Do you have any news? What's going on on the news front on your side?
I don't think I mean I have something I'm going to save for
your noggin.
The Apple News for you pulled through again. There's some stuff, some interesting.
Okay, all right,
stuff.
All right. Okay.
But I feel like this. I have one thing that I feel is like on your list.
Okay,
I'm pretty sure it's on your list.
Let's see how much. Yeah. Okay. What do you think is on my list?
So our favorite not 8 movie. I guess the 9th movie. Our favorite 8 movie franchise dealing with street racers turned global mastermind, criminals / heroes, action star.
And there's a lot of those.
Yeah.
So I'm curious which one you're talking about.
So Vin Diesel.
Yes.
I actually haven't heard this yet, but Vin Diesel apparently is, maybe he did this before. It's the first time I've heard him actually doing something music related, but apparently he has a single, and
apparently he does have a single. Yes.
So have you heard this?
No. So Breton told me about this, and she was like that's got to go on the podcast, and so I put it in my notes. And yes, rivaling the Holland State of Mind No Frills album. Which, by the way, how are you doing on your homework? Have you started listening to that yet?
I think I listened to they have some promos or something on because I don't is it Spotify only?
No, I believe it's Apple Music as well. I believe it's Apple Music.
Okay. Yeah. No, as much as I want to listen to that, I have not listened to it yet.
I will say not to get too off topic here, but I will say that the first track was surprisingly good. It was like I thought it was just going to be beats and robotic kind of Stephen Hawking voice.
Yeah.
But no, then a real rapper kicks in.
It's like real artists, I'm assuming, right?
I don't know for sure.
I mean,
real artists. Yeah,
they're real people.
Yes. Whether they're big and famous or not, I don't know. But yeah. I mean, the lyrics are a little bit ridiculous, but surprisingly good music. So. Anyways, Vin Diesel. Yes, I did not. No, I did not. Did you even look up the song? Can you find it? Did you?
No.
How did this come up? Because I didn't ask Brendan how it came up in her feed. Did it just come up in your feed? Vin Diesel released a single, or?
I couldn't even tell you. Yeah, I mean, this is going back. When did we talk about the social dilemma? Was that last one or one before? I don't know.
Yeah, somewhere
5 before. I don't know. But it's kind of scary. Not to go off on a tangent, but it's kind of crazy how you and I both. I mean, I guess you do have a Brendan told you, so that's a very clear source. But I must have seen it somewhere, and I couldn't tell you. And it's not like I go out of my way to tell the internet hey, I want the latest Vin Diesel news. So,
but I have to assume it was pretty big, entertainment.
Yeah, it
news,
must have been on Twitter. I do browse, once or twice a day, the trending stuff, right? And mostly again, it's one of those things where I don't need to know these things, but it's kind of popcorn or candy for the brain.
I am a little bit curious what it's like. Oh, it's with Kygo.
Oh, that's promising.
Pretty good.
That's cool.
I am a Kygo fan.
Yeah.
So it's called "Feel Like I Do" by Vin Diesel.
Again, if we had any ability or preparation, we would be like, let's play the Vin Diesel track.
Yeah, and now the latest single from Vin Diesel and Kygo.
But if it's on YouTube, the beauty of, I guess, our if you are watching this on YouTube, is you can just go off and watch it right now. Right?
We can even put a little eye icon in the upper whatever. We could put a little call out or whatever. Yeah.
Does YouTube have if this doesn't exist, this is like, I think, a brilliant idea. But like you can have links and you can click off to things like from a video, right? Like people will embed videos or just even in the notes.
Yep.
But I feel like YouTube needs a feature where you can just like play an embedded video or like link, and then it'll play that, and when it's done, it'll resume the other video that you came from.
That would be cool.
That doesn't exist, does it?
It does not, as far as I know. No, I think
that's what they need.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. So YouTube, check it out. We got some great ideas for you. And
exactly.
and if you're new to the podcast, which by the way is not so out of the realm, the numbers are going up. And we're not talking about COVID. The numbers for our podcast are kind of going up. Like we're starting to get into the 30s, of people who are downloading and listening to our episodes.
Yeah.
So, okay, I got some pretty exciting news actually, which I don't know if you're aware of or not. So I am, pretty nostalgic video game player, right? Like video games were a big part of my childhood, and my kind of involvement in video games kind of went downhill after university. So I mean, the sophistication and craziness of video games I can highly respect, but I never really like got into that era, right? Like when you were playing games like Halo and BioShock and
right.
I mean, I'm pretending like I know games, but I don't.
Those are games.
Yes. And Flim Flom. Those but those are like super like really intense stories, and you really have to dedicate yourself to them, whatever. I respect those games, and Metal Gear Solid obviously was one of my favorite series that I ever played. But I always tended, like, nowadays it's kind of like I want a game that I can kind of sit down and play for a couple minutes or whatever, right? And one of the biggest genres of games that fits into that was arcade style racers, right? So I was never big into like Gran Turismo or what's Forza?
Forza.
Yeah, I never got really big into the simulation racers. I was always, because basically I kind of sucked at them, to be honest. But I was always a big fan of the arcade racers, and in fact, I convinced you to buy Virtual Racing to play one time only for $7, right? Okay. Yeah. So the exciting news is, have you heard about these two new games that just came out in the last week? One called Hotshot Racing and the other one called Inertial Drift.
Nope.
All right, cool. Awesome. So these are two kind of retro style arcade racers, but are brand new and that just came out. So Hotshot Racing was a game that started off as kind of like, it was weird. It was like a racing game, but you had guns and you're kind of like shooting each other and stuff like that. But they basically, they took away the guns and they stripped it out and they just made it a plain racing game. But it's all like flat polygon graphics. So it's kind of like a tribute to like Sega arcade racers. So Hotshot Racing, it's like $25 for Nintendo Switch and other systems. So check that out. And then I found out yesterday or 2 days ago that there's this other game called Inertial Drift. It's all about drifting. The whole game is about like drifting around corners and stuff like that. And it's got some retro like cell shaded graphics. And apparently the control system is really weird how you drift and stuff, but some people like it, some people don't. But yeah, anyways, if you have a Switch, PS4, Xbox or something.
Yeah, I might have to check that out.
Yeah, you should check Inertial Drift.
It reminds me of the drift game. Do you remember? It was on Dreamcast, I think. Project Gotham, I think was the name of it was a racing game.
Or what was that? What was the first one of that? Was it Tokyo Drift Racer or something?
No, that was a different game. But that was a game.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Also really cool, amazing. But yeah, I think it was called Project Gotham, which is that? Am I remembering correctly? Is that what Forza evolved from?
That's what I'm wondering. Anyways. Yeah, did it become one of these other famous games?
Maybe not, but The one thing I remember from Project Gotham that was amazing is it wasn't just purely win the race, right? Like become first. You also had to it was a combo of that and then getting points for style, and they call it kudos, I think. But you would get style points from like drifting and taking corner really nicely and things like that.
Yeah.
And I feel like I haven't seen a game since then that kind of focuses on that element, right?
Yeah. That kind of like a style of driving and stuff like that. I will say Inertial Drift is not quite like that, but the thing they say about Inertial Drift that's fun is the fact that you do have to do kind of crazy drifts to win the race, to do well in the race or whatever. So just a kind of new control system or whatever. I
guess related to this, and I guess it's sort of news because we haven't talked about it. There's a lot of next gen consoles now being announced. Well, I guess mainly PlayStation and Xbox. Two, but I think I'm the same as you, right? I think I haven't really been super in depth with games since probably Xbox 360 kind of generation of consoles, and so. Seeing some of the new demos are just nuts. I think you shared one with me, or maybe I shared with you something that was a demo of using Unreal Engine on the PlayStation.
Exactly. Just like that.
It's just crazy.
The detail is insane, right? It does make me kind of want to get back into video. The biggest thing I've started to realize actually, which is crazy about video games, but I guess it's just the market and I guess the way. Again, economics work and stuff like that. Because, I got some birthday money and I was starting to think to myself, what do I want to spend the money on? And it's crazy to think, okay, baseline entry level new laptop, is I shouldn't say entry level, but let's say you want to get a Mac. Entry level Mac, $1,000, right? Entry level, even decent Dell XPS, whatever, $1,000, whatever. Right. Top of the line video game system. Still only $300-$400, $400 or $500, right? It's pretty sweet.
Yeah, and it's insane the amount of power, right? That you get out of that. Maybe now's I'm actually considering this winter maybe getting back into it. I don't know what console I would get, but one thing strangely, I think I've always wanted to do this, but now it's okay, maybe now's the time to do it, and I'll do it this winter. Is get a full setup for Microsoft Flight Simulator.
Yes. Because I can't remember. Did we actually talk about Flight Simulator on the podcast or not? Did we end up not talking about it?
I don't even know.
No, oh my God.
Maybe, but
that would be the coolest thing ever.
Yeah. So I think that was released a few months ago or very, very recently. But, again, the graphics and everything are insane. But even, I don't know when the last Microsoft Flight Simulator was, maybe a few years back or longer. But, I'm definitely into those, those games that are just hyper realistic, right?
Yeah.
I've always kind of liked something about that. And I think, one, I'm probably not gonna be flying anywhere anytime soon. So maybe there's an aspect of it's kind of that open environment too, and you can fly to wherever, even though it's virtual, right?
And you may never pilot a plane ever in your life.
I mean, there's that. Yeah. There's that aspect as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think I might set something up this winter, and I think if I do it, I think it's great. It's a great thing that I have not really been into gaming for years, because I feel I just want my mind blown.
Yeah, I know, that's the thing, right? When you haven't played video games for so long, when you finally actually do play them again. And again, Microsoft Flight Simulator, just looks ridiculous, right? So.
Yeah, and apparently they're, I don't think it's supported yet, but they are adding support for VR.
Yeah.
So that is also something I might consider. Although the one thing I'm not sure is, and I guess this is the thing I realized about VR and simulators, right? If you're you still need physical controls, right?
Yeah.
Because it'd be weird to, I guess maybe you could, but it'd be weird if you were just hands in the air trying to control. That's weird, right? So you still need physical controls. So the thing that might be weird is if you have physical controls, but in VR you're seeing the virtual
version of those. Yeah.
Unless maybe it does a really good job mapping.
Yeah.
Mapping basically the controller you have, and it feels like what your physical controller is, but Yeah, I'll maybe set that up and give a review on ETC.
All right, we're going to take a short break, but we'll be right back after this. And we are back on this wonderful episode 45 of the ETC podcast for Wednesday, September 30th, 2020. I realized I started getting really confused as to where I put the word wonderful. Like, is it a wonderful day? Is it a wonderful episode? Everything's just wonderful in the ETC podcast.
That's both.
We should be called, what's that?
It's both.
Yeah, it's both. It's on this wonderful episode on this wonderful day. Yes, episode 45. We are already approaching beating season 4 of our podcast. We already beat season 5. Yeah. Season 5 was only one episode.
This is a pretty good. This is a good streak.
Yeah,
we've 5 straight. Is it?
We're definitely not season 1. It wasn't straight like every single week, but season 1 was something like 20 episodes or something like that. But the last couple of seasons were definitely really short. So definitely happy with the kind of traction we're getting on this, and the format's working pretty well. So if you want to email us, be sure to email us at podcast.etc@gmail.com. Leave comments on our YouTube. Follow us on Twitter at the ETC podcast. Leave us a voice message. As you can see in the past couple episodes, we've actually played voice messages for people. So definitely appreciate all the subscribership that's happening. And before we get into Aaron's noggin, before we dive deep in there, there is one thing I want to mention. Farmville is officially shutting down December 31st. I have no idea. I don't even know. I don't even remember what Farmville is.
That's the Facebook.
Oh, right.
It's like that online game thing that you just basically try to not manage. So that's giving it more than you basically. It's run a virtual farm,
like
right?
Sim Farm, right? Almost or something.
Yeah.
And it was on the Facebook. It was on Facebook, right?
Was that Zynga?
I don't even know.
You remember Zynga?
I thought the funny part of this story would be the fact that I don't really remember what the heck Farmville is. I do remember Zynga though. Zynga did Words with Friends and stuff like that, right? Or no?
That sounds right. They had a lot of games. They had Mafia Wars and they had a lot of games.
Right.
So what does you probably don't know, but what I wonder what shutting down.
I take offense to that. I take offense to that.
What is shutting down Farmville mean?
I'm assuming you can still play it right now, and after December 31st, you can't play it. That's, I guess. Is there virtual money involved or anything like that? I don't know.
Yeah, why? I guess it takes money to run it, but what?
Yeah.
What if there's people still paying money, because I think how it worked is you can play it for free, but then if you wanted to play faster or grow your farm faster, then you could pay money, right? Real money, to get credits or something. So that's interesting.
If you guys play Farmville, we'd like to hear from you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
When this must have come out 5-6 years ago?
Yeah, longer maybe.
Yeah. Anyways. If you know when Farmville came out or you know anything about the story, exactly. Be sure to message us.
Tell us about your farm that's shutting down.
podcast.etc@gmail.com. All right. It is now time to find out what is on Aaron's noggin. Other than his hat. You have your hat today.
Yeah, back.
I'm kind of thinking I might need to wear a hat. My hair is getting a little bit longer here, so I don't know.
Yeah, it'll be toque season soon too.
Oh yes, we'll look cooler. We'll look cooler with the toques.
Yeah.
Not to discount your hat. Your hat looks very cool. What is your hat, by the way?
It's we haven't talked about this?
No. It looks like Olympics.
Okay.
It looks.
Yeah, so this is a Tokyo 2020 Olympics hat.
Oh, yeah, I think I kind of heard about this. But
so maybe this is
hat for a while though, right? You've had this
for a month or two.
Yeah, okay. So they started selling off the stuff, or
so every Olympics there's a gift, not a gift, but Olympic merchandise store. Yeah. So there's some night, as I do, where I'm sitting there and just something pops into my mind.
Apple News.
Something pops into my mind, and I think maybe I saw somebody. What it was? I saw somebody talking about how they thought the Tokyo 2020 like design stuff, like the logos were really nice, and it's a shame that it's not happening, etc. So then I don't know, something popped in my mind. I'm like, hey, that'd be cool. Like, are they selling any like hats, shirts, whatever? Because I do like kind of like some of the logos and design stuff for like like what I saw, and it'd be kind of cool to own something that is kind of historic in a way, right?
Yeah,
like,
totally.
How often is there a global pandemic that prevents an Olympics from happening?
Hopefully not more than once.
Yeah. So I went to their online store, and I'm like, oh, cool. Like, there's some really cool stuff here. And I went all the way to checkout, and the classic, oh, they don't ship outside the country, right?
Yeah.
Like, you don't know that until you go through checkout.
Because this is like the official Tokyo Olympic
Japan,
store.
Tokyo 2020 Olympics official shop. And so it's a great site, actually. Like, it's it's all in English, but they just don't ship outside Japan. So I'm like, okay. And then I'm like, you know what? This might be a solvable problem. Like, okay, well, like, we live in 2020. So like, yeah, maybe this, like, I've been interested in buying things from Japan before. And I was like, okay, let's see if there's like some service that will ship, like I can ship to in Japan and they'll ship to me, right? Because I have used similar services for the US, where you buy something that's US only shipping, and then I get it sent to them and they send it to me.
Yeah, totally.
So I found one, and I'm like, cool, I'm gonna try this out. So that's basically what happened. Like, I found a basically mail forwarding service in Japan that gives you an address, basically. And so I bought a hat, a shirt, and 2 mugs. I think that's what I bought. All with like Tokyo 2020 stuff on it. And yeah, it was pretty smooth. Like, it took 2 or 3 weeks to arrive, but and more expensive than obviously if I lived in Japan and I had to pay extra shipping.
So.
But
That's fair.
Also cheaper than going to Japan and buying these things.
There you go.
So that's the story of the hat.
That's cool. Yeah, I really didn't know that. But that is not the topic of right now. What is underneath the hat but on your noggin?
I don't know. I actually feel like this is less interesting now than that, but maybe not. Well, we'll see. So, have you heard of these things called deepfakes? This is going to be bad.
Sorry, go ahead.
What's that?
I'm just saying this is going to be bad. But sorry, what have I heard of? What?
Have you heard of these things called deepfakes?
Yes, totally.
Yeah. So have you seen any?
The only one I've seen is a George Lucas one, where he's like kind of
interesting.
He's like we're at our like our friend Steve's house, and Andy pput on this, and I was like, what is this real? Like because he's basically apologizing for how terrible the Star Wars movies are. But yeah, that's the only one I've seen, and then I've seen a lot of like ones in thumbnails and stuff like that. So
okay, so deepfake basically is I think, I mean, maybe they could do audio and just still images, but I think predominantly it's referring to videos of a person, but it's not actually them. So it's a real person, but the video essentially looks like 100% like that person is in a video saying something, doing something, whatever, but it's not actually them, right? Yeah. So, there's been things, just fun stuff like, you could let's say the Vin Diesel music video, right?
Yeah.
Like they could put your face on Vin Diesel's body instead of him, or your whole person, right?
Yeah.
Which is like very the technology behind that is kind of nuts. Like it's not only until the last few years where that was even possible, because if you think about how much computer processing power it takes to not only show someone realistic, but then also put them into an actual video. And I don't know how they do the voice thing is crazy, because it sounds exactly like the person.
Yeah.
And so I don't know which one's crazier. I don't know if the visuals of the person or the voice is the more insane part to fake.
Yeah.
But anyways, that's what a deepfake is. And so, last few years there's been a lot of discussions around the just like the dangers of this and the ethics, because if you can imagine, people can steal your identity in some way, right?
Yeah.
And so for you and me, we're we run a podcast with 20 listeners. Maybe not a big deal, but you know, you can think it's like celebrity,
if even 20.
Yeah, exactly. But you know, like celebrities and you know, bigger names like that's a pretty big deal.
Politicians is a big discussion around deepfakes, right?
So again, the Apple News. You know, I was browsing through my free Apple News and under the For You,
right? Because you stopped paying for it, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And so the only time I open it is like before we meet to see if there's something interesting.
Oh shoot! I got to record tonight. I better look up something.
Yeah. No, that's exactly it. So there was a deepfake, actually. I think some sort of kind of not political group, but some sort of voter advocacy group in the U.S. So if you know, for those that don't know, FTK.
That's right.
There's an election. There's an election going on down south. Our neighbors down south.
Oh,
won't get too much into that.
You said voter advocacy.
Yeah. What? Yeah.
I heard boater advocacy.
No. Yeah. So for the election, yeah.
Yes.
And so you know, there's a debate now. There's debates going on where like the two candidates, you know, get on in the debate, etc. But there's a group that put out, I guess you can call it an ad. I don't know if you can call it. Yeah, it's an ad, right? Like if they're paying for it, basically try to convince people to vote, right?
Right.
But in the ad, the ad actually is Kim Jong-un and Vladimir Putin basically telling Americans to vote. Oh. But it's obviously not them, right?
Yeah.
But it's crazy how real this looks. Like it's insane.
Oh.
And there's a huge basically in the US now like.
But what's the angle there though? Why?
So like, the gist is basically, you know, these two leaders basically saying, you know, I don't like, because you know there's been a lot of controversy of like Russia interfering with elections in the US.
Yeah.
And obviously North Korea being, you know, like. Basically, you would think it's like the opposite of a lot of people see as the opposite of like democracy and things like that in today's world. But like they're basically saying like not them obviously, right? They're basically saying like we don't have to do anything because like, you know, if you don't go vote, right? Like that's the biggest threat to democracy, right?
Right.
And that's the message. So it's very compelling.
Oh, sorry. So this is like pro voting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so get out and vote, but it's just like bizarre, right? Because it's coming from these like, but it's insane, and there's a lot of again, I skimmed the article, so
I'm curious what I mean. Is the article like? Is it like an editorial on like, or is it literally the article is here's the video and then that's the article, or does it kind of go into
the news? So this news article is actually, you know, obviously they kind of explain a bit about what's in the video.
Yeah.
But it's around, you know, the headline is actually too real ? So deepfake Putin, Kim Jong-un ads. So apparently these were actually pulled from some places. Okay. So these might have been on TV as well, right? Not just online. So apparently it might like they were pulled from some stations or whatever because people thought it was real.
Okay.
Like people were like, why is the leader of North Korea on my TV, right?
I could imagine. Yeah. I could totally imagine falling for that though, because again, when I watched this George Lucas thing, obviously clearly not as serious, but I was like, is this real? Like what? Like it was more baffling than anything. You know, I was like, my mind knows this isn't real, but it's like what is this? Is it someone dressed up as it? Is it a lookalike? Is it like, you know, I couldn't figure it out, right?
Yeah. So I mean, like to be honest, if I didn't know these were fake, you know, I probably wouldn't be able to tell, right? So
well, especially if it's like a short message or something like, you know, where it's just like, you know, if it's just like get out and vote or something like that, like versus like, oh, the guy rambles on for half an hour about like, you know, I don't know, something that where at some point you'd be like, okay, this has got to be fake. If it's just like kind of a short little clip and you're like, what the heck?
Exactly.
Like, what was that?
And especially people, you know, again, maybe the voice is like 90% accurate, right? Maybe if you actually compared the two videos, you could tell, right? But what the average person, like, they're not going to know what Vladimir Putin actually sounds like, right?
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? So like, yeah, it's the technology behind it is kind of nuts, but kind of freaky.
All right, Apple News. Don't subscribe, but read some interesting stuff.
Lots of good free content.
And then you don't even have to listen to our podcast. Yeah. You can just free up your time and everything.
You won't get this confused commentary
recounting, this inaccurate recounting and confused opinion of what is happening around the world. Okay, it is time for correspondence. Unfortunately, this week we do not have a voice message as we did the last 2 weeks. So we broke our streak of two voice messages in a row. But our good friend Andrea did write us another email, episode 44. And here's what she has to say. Hey, guys. No. And that's how it's written. Well, actually, technically it's written no, dot. But I assume that's no. Have I really lost the FDK battle? I say take a poll, but not on Twitter. When you have at least when you have at least 25 to 30 followers, 5 people voting on Twitter does not count as an accurate poll. It's a little harsh. It's a little harsh pointing out our very low listenership. It's a little harsh.
We were asking for you asked for criticism, right, or concerns.
That's true. I did ask for concerns. Yeah. This I feel like it's not concern though. This is just outright, sadness. Can you guess that I would have voted less cars? So she's complaining that not enough people voted, yet she didn't vote on the last Twitter poll.
This is the problem with democracy these days, people.
Yes. Listen to Putin.
This is a reflection of what happens when you don't vote.
Exactly. And then she gets really real about it. She says, at a party, I would have turned out car chatter. At a party, I would have tuned out car chatter and found other people to talk to.
This is just getting, wow, this is honest.
But your podcast forced me to learn something new. Like how Tesla is making new batteries for homes. Super interesting. Okay, so there's a bit of bit of a twist in the story.
Yeah.
Bit of a twist in the story. Andrea, P.S. Just FYI, I switched almost right away from YouTube to listening to your podcast on Apple Podcast. I prefer less screen time with my morning tea. And that I can understand that, watching less screens is a good thing. So thanks, Andrea, for writing in, and thanks for listening. Really appreciate your honest opinions, as harsh as they may be. Our car video of me screaming has got decent attention. Our friend Dave mentioned how great that video was, and just so you guys know, again, social responsibility here. We filmed that like ages ago. Actually, that was well beyond.
What year was that?
I don't know.
2 years ago.
It took me a while to find the video, to be honest. But my good friend Rithik actually commented on there. So if I can babble. Aaron, can you sing a song while I find this video here?
Well, I mean, have we talked? We haven't announced, I don't think, that we're doing these short clips. So I'll just say we're doing these short clips. If looking at our faces for 40, 50 minutes is not your thing, you can look at a video of Casey screaming for 5 seconds.
Yeah, that not even 1 point. How many seconds?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
But that's a good point though, because I was thinking like, oh, maybe we shouldn't mention this because this is kind of like an advertising tactic, right? It's kind of like, seed them in with the short clips, and then they'll listen to the full episode or whatever. But you're right. If you can't stand us for the, by the way, and we are now in the hour kind of realm now. Like the episodes have slowly been creeping up, and I'm like, you know what? We're just doing an hour-long podcast now. Before we do our big 24-hour podcast extravaganza, which I think we should do legitimately, like 24-hour Le Mans. We should do like a 24-hour podcast someday. Okay. Anyways, so Rithik, this is a student who became a friend of mine. He basically said, and this is awesome because I didn't know he actually listened to it or whatever. Like, you tell people, hey,
that's always the best, right?
What's that?
Like, that's always the best when you just have no idea and then somebody tells you.
It's not so much I didn't have no idea because I did tell him he should listen to it.
Oh, okay.
But it was more that you just don't have faith that people are actually going to listen to it.
Yeah, they don't always.
Yeah, exactly. So it was nice to find out that he kind of, I mean, maybe he doesn't. Maybe he just watched this one clip. But
enough.
he said, love Casey's reaction. This was golden. Thank you guys for doing this. He thanked us for doing that.
You're welcome.
Yeah, exactly. I said, thanks for the support, Rithik. Time to buy a Tesla. And he says, it's on my bucket list. So thanks, Rithik, for commenting on our YouTube video. Always good to have the engagement, guys. So really appreciate it. And last but not least in the correspondence, I actually forgot to read an email from September 21st, which was last. Or I should have read this last week, basically. So here's the subject. Invitation to bring your podcasts to tens of millions of customers on Amazon Music. Hello, podcaster. We're excited to share that Amazon Music now includes podcasts across all tiers of the service in the US, UK, Germany, and Japan at no additional cost. Popular shows such as Crime Junkie, Amazon wrote us asking for us to submit our podcast.
Yeah,
because
that's basically from Jeff Bezos, right?
Yes.
Writing us directly.
At the very bottom, it says, your personal friend, Jeff Bezos.
Yeah.
P.S. Thanks for the bottle of wine. You know, it's amazing. So, I mean, I don't see any reason for us not to submit it.
Are we already on there?
No, we're not.
That's not one of the Anchor, channels? No?
No, I have a feeling like Amazon is new to the kind of the podcast realm because, I mean, I mean, maybe not. I mean, maybe this is like an automated email that as soon as a new podcast pops out on Apple or Spotify or whatever, like instantly an email goes out to that with people, hey, put it on Amazon. So yeah, I don't see why we wouldn't do that. I think we can probably,
everywhere. I mean, maybe the fine print is Amazon or Jeff's gonna own our souls, but
whatever. You know, I will say that was
a million listeners. Let's do it.
That was my slight hesitation, like as to what are the terms of this. So we will definitely see. Okay, so obviously a lot of big tech companies are announcing a lot of things. There was a Google event today. I don't know if you caught that, but they announced their
I haven't yet.
Pixel 5 and then their Pixel 4a.
What is? Are they still calling it I/O or what's the name of the event? Are they changed the name?
Good question. I don't know. I have no idea.
This is like not a good look on we like Google too. It's like we don't even know the name of the
Yeah, what's the name of that company?
Yeah.
So they released their Pixel 5 and their Pixel 4a 5G, if that's not confusing for the general public. Yeah. So they released a bunch of stuff. They released a new Chromecast with now they have an operating system called Google TV. They released a new Nest speaker. Again, this whole rebranding of Google Home to Nest. And then roughly a week ago, it was just after last episode, and that's why I kind of bring it up now, Amazon had their event introducing kind of new Echoes and things like that. Did you happen to catch the coolest thing ever that came out last week?
You're talking about the indoor drones?
Yes!
Yeah.
Oh my God, this thing is so cool.
I didn't think it was real. I thought I saw it. I'm like, okay, is this a real thing? Am I, reading a joke article? But no, apparently it's real, right?
Yeah, and it's bigger than I thought it was. So FDK, Amazon owns a company called Ring, and Ring makes like doorbells and surveillance cameras and all this stuff. And now they have.
Do they make it's made by Ring? Is that?
It's a Ring device, so it's kind of part of their like security home stuff or whatever. And basically I don't even know what they're calling it. Oh, they're calling it the Ring security drone. And so what it is, it's this little drone inside your house. It's so cool because it like sits in this little home pod thing.
Yeah.
And then at any given point, let's say you're out of your house and there's a break-in. This is how they advertise it. So somebody breaks in, you can use your phone and just this drone just flies up and flies around your house.
So good.
And you basically have full you can control this drone.
I've actually half serious, but I've actually been wanting this. My brother actually got me this little drone that's kind of programmable.
Okay.
And I never got around to it, but I was like, okay, the only idea I can think of, because I'm like, what do you do with a programmable drone? I don't know. Like the only idea I could think of is it to basically fly around the house, checking things for me. Yeah. Right. So it's like, oh yeah, if somebody breaks in, the drone will just buzz around, and if they stay, they'll crash into them. Or something.
Yeah. And the worst thing is now that this thing is public, I'm pretty sure no robber or thief is going to be scared of this thing now.
Well, that, and also like I feel if I buy this, like one, I'm not like I'm working from home now, and I'm like definitely like away from the house, like never.
Yeah.
So I feel like I'm just gonna accidentally activate it, and it's just gonna be like, oh, the drone. Like I'll be like sleeping, and it's like, oh, the drone's flying around again. Like,
totally, right. And I mean, there's always the fear with these IoT devices, right, of hacking and like someone getting into your house and flying this drone around, right?
Yeah.
But with all
super cool. Yeah.
With all the creepiness in mind, like just discounting the creepiness and discounting, all the real world applications of this. Or lack of real world applications of this. I have to say, I was like you. I was like, is this a concept? Is this a Kickstarter thing? I always love when
you can actually buy it.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. I mean, again, no information. Let's see here. Ring security drone. And I bet you, again, knowing Amazon, it's like not that expensive. Okay, it's not coming up on the Amazon website.
Okay.
So that seems to me like it's not available yet then.
I hope you can do things like through Alexa, like, hey Alexa,
fly around
launch
my
the
house.
drones.
Yeah. I think you can. I don't know. I have no idea actually, to be honest. But
yeah.
Anyways, okay, Ring security drone. We have no idea if it's available or when it's available, but I'm pretty sure it's like close to production, if not like ready to go. But I'm only saying that to make the story sound more impressive, because if it is one of these things that's still in the concept phase, then it's not. It's a little bit less impressive. But anyways, super cool. I same as you. I thought it was a joke. Not a joke. I thought it was like one of like concept kind of thing.
Too good to be true.
But it's so nicely designed, right? The thing actually looks really cool.
Yeah, you could actually put it, like on in your house, and it wouldn't look. At least when it's not flying, because when it's flying, that's pretty obvious what it is. But
yeah, exactly. That's the thing, right? Has a nice little home, just chilling there, and then boom, very, very cool. All right, we are coming to a close here on our episode 45 of the ETC podcast. That's 9 times 5 for those of you who are counting. So do you have anything? We got to find a better, smoother way to close off these episodes. I always I'm giving you the courtesy to have a last word. Like maybe you're like itching to sneak in that last little bit of ETC news.
No, I think I'll save it for the next one. I got lots, but
it's all stored back there. All right. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, or just outright criticism, Andrea, you can email us at podcast.etc@gmail.com or leave us a message at Twitter @the/ETC podcast. You can also leave us a voice message and follow all our episodes at anchor.fm/the-etc-podcast. ETC Podcast is currently hosted on Anchor.fm, but distributed to all your favorite podcast platforms, including Apple Podcasts, Spotify, not Stitcher, Breaker, and maybe Amazon soon. And
we'll talk Amazon. Maybe a few of those drones will.
Yes, yeah. Send us a couple of those drones, and maybe we'll submit our podcast. We know we're a hot commodity, so and. The one that I use, Overcast. So definitely check that out. But yeah, definitely get in touch with us. Again, National Podcast Day. Be sure to listen to the podcast that we mentioned and spread the news about any of your podcasts. Don't forget there's going to be a Twitter poll about the best version of Africa. But as for now, that is it for episode 45 of the ETC podcast on this wonderful Wednesday, September 30th, 2020. My name is Casey Lee, and sitting next to me as always, but not next to me, across the city from me as always is...
Aaron Zdenko.
All right, we'll see you guys in the next one.
Watch out for those deepfakes.